How is art and skateboarding related? Well, I think it's a simpler answer than maybe anyone thinks. It's just skateboarding is creative. You know, you are physically out there creating something and socializing with people who, you know, it's just a hub of creativity. The whole world, like, art has been involved in skateboarding since day one with graphics, and you know, adverts back in the day were very creative, and I think it's just attracted the same people, you know, same kind of people throughout. Just people who want to do shit.
Because skateboarding is creative, essentially we're a lot more open-minded to creative things, you know, like that's why lots of skateboarders are artists, and when those guys have a show, it's packed full of skaters.
For photography, I could see there's a parallel with skateboarding. Say I'm skating down the street, I'm constantly looking ahead for stuff to hit, just pushing. Like, oh, there's a ledge up ahead, I'm gonna get ready for that. Like, where photography, my eyes are open, scanning the horizon. I'm not looking like what's directly in front of me. I'm looking at what's ahead, like something interesting coming my way, so I can have my camera ready to, like, I don't know, shoot them.
I think all the skaters I know, they've got a creative side to them. We're a strange bunch of people, really, aren't we? We've always sort of been like a bit of a, I guess you could say, a social outcast to a degree.
Skateboarders are naturally creative types. Just because skateboarding isn't a team sport, skateboarding isn't something that you need to learn a certain thing. You can do it however you want, and so naturally people who skateboard are usually creative people.
The way I think about skateboarding is kind of as like an art of movement. It's learning these techniques with the interplay between yourself and the board, figuring out all these different movements that can be put together to make something whole. And it's kind of an art of movement through space. So the way you use what you can find around you and how you can interpret that in creative ways. So like the average person would see a set of stairs as something to walk up or down, but a skateboarder might see that as something to ollie down, ollie up. You could firecracker down them. If there's a ledge next to it, you could grind the ledge. The art of skateboarding essentially is it's an art of perception. It's how you see the space around you and what possibilities can come from that.
No, I think there's loads of links between skateboarding and creativity. Mainly, well, not even mainly, just there just is, because when being a skateboarder is being creative.
Poetry is something I do, whereas skateboarding is something I just am. I just am a skateboarder.
The attitude of skateboarding, or the culture, is kind of, I suppose, the historical attitude is very anarchic and very kind of like, fuck the system. And I think that's definitely, you know, I definitely have a skateboarder's attitude in poetry. You know, like, I don't rock up, I'm not the same as every other poet you see, I don't do the same shit, you know, and at the end of the day, I'm a skateboarding poet, and I always have, you know, like, God, it sounds stupid when you say it, but I'm a skateboarding spoken word artist, but my attitude and the way that I deliver it, the way that I think about poetry and where it sits in the sort of cultural phenomenon of spoken word or whatever, is from a skateboarder's attitude.
That was fucking perfect. Don't leave it hanging. Come on. I can't believe it, man. That's been fucking with my mind.
Both are being creative, because he is doing a complicated trick which is creative, and I'm using some of the best technology to create something unique.
I've always shot film. I prefer
the look of it and the control of it, how you can develop it yourself, and also it's much cheaper than buying a digital camera, so that's always good.
It's really hard. Like, a lot of like media and like skateboard media nowadays is sadly died out, and now it's just a little bit hard to find somewhere to put it. Internet's ruined things. It's made it too like, I don't know. It's free for people to use.
I think skateboarding is pretty DIY. You have to get stuff done. You don't really get given much in skateboarding, and I think the kind of person that takes to skateboarding takes pretty well to other creative things in the same band of kind of being in control, and then it's more satisfying when you get something nice. You've had to work for it, I think.
The kind of people that skateboard come from a do-it-yourself sort of culture, and no one's going to do anything for you. You have to just figure out how to do it yourself. So, you know, for me, even I like make all my own books. I design my own, all the graphics for Toy Machine. I just learned how to do everything myself because I wasn't going to wait to go to school for it. I wasn't going to pay money. I didn't have enough money to go to school for it. So you just learn how to do everything yourself, and that's kind of the vibe, I guess, in general. It's just like anything you want to do, figure out how to do it and start doing it.
So I think skateboard is like analog art because it's quite tactile. Skateboarding is all about the physical. It's using physical objects and yourself in creative ways, and like leaving a mark on that as well. Yeah, I think with skateboarding, it's something about the physical form which is interesting. Like, obviously the skateboard is a physical thing. You have the grip tape which you can do art on top of. You choose a graphic because of the art on the bottom. Because skateboarding is an art of movement through space. It's all about how you use these physical objects around you. And once you put that mindset into other things that you can find, so for example with collage, there's kind of a similar thought process to skateboarding, that you find lots of different things and kind of repurpose them in your own way. If you're doing a collage, you look through it, take the pieces out you like, and repurpose them to make your own thing. I think that's kind of how the mentality of skateboarders works as well.
It's what you make it. It's how you feel about it as an individual. You get out of it what you put into it. It certainly is an individual thing. It's got what you skate, how you skate. It's got nothing to do with anyone else, as long as you get what you need from it. There is a sort of connection with, you know, when if I look at a skateboard, I suppose since I've done skate interiors, I look at a skateboard, I see a store as well as a skateboard. Yeah, I suppose if I'm in a bit of a creative mood, then I connect the two together.
Like, I don't write anything on my phone because digital kind of kills it. So I'm getting my phone out, and then before, you know, like I don't write in laptops.
Yeah, I think that's just a choice. And I think being creative comes in any kind of way, you know? I mean, if you choose to be creative using a computer, that's your choice. You know, so I don't necessarily think there's you know, it's your value judgment. You know, if you prefer work by hand, then that's fine. But that doesn't mean it's not creative if someone does something using a computer. I've seen amazing work that was done digitally or on a computer. I personally prefer like things done by hand a little bit.
Maybe we like to get our hands dirty. I think skaters, we like to be in it. But I do know a lot of skaters that do like graphic design on the computer and stuff. But I think all of them have an element of like hand-done stuff as well. All of the artists I know, at least who are in skating, are definitely use their hands, and it must be something to do about being in the physical real world of it rather than through a computer. I mean, sometimes I do computer work, but only if I like absolutely have to, and I'll always hand draw it first and scan it in and then go over it. I could never draw something like directly onto the computer.
I do like that kind of rough, old school looking aesthetic.
I don't really like it when a painting is too perfect and like it's all really flat and you can't really tell. I love it when you go in like close and you can see where someone's literally gone like with a paintbrush, and it's like, oh, someone actually like did that with a hand. Like, that's sick. I think I love that side of it. So yeah, probably do relish in the blemishes. Why do I paint on broken boards? Well, I was painting on canvases, like square canvases, and I still do on wood, but I just got started to kind of question about the whole, why does everyone paint on a square kind of thing. I mean, you see paintings all around this room, they're all on squares. I was just all rectangles, and I didn't really know why we're so obsessed with 90-degree angles in every corner of our painting. And then, being a skater, obviously the first thing that came to mind of what wasn't square and what I could paint on was a broken skateboard or a whole skateboard. So I'd obviously always wanted to design one at the time, which I hadn't the first time I painted a broken board. But yeah, no, so someone I knew who owned a skate shop had some broken boards, and he was like, hey, if you want to paint on one, here's some here. And so I did, and I, just kind of fell in love with it, and I've been doing it ever since.
Is it art? Is it sport? You could probably put a really good argument about whether skateboarding is art and whether it's sport. But I'm a skateboarder, I don't give a shit, dude. Like, I just want to skateboard. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm not thinking about whether it's artistic or whether it's, sport. When I'm skating, I'm just skating, and,
Is skateboarding a sport?
Or not?
Probably on paper. I mean, I've never really given a shit about that debate. Like, skateboarding's not a sport, man. Like, I don't really care if someone in the world somewhere thinks it's a sport or isn't a sport. It's just like, probably is well, it's not like a game, you can't play a game of, well, you can play a game of skate.
I just think of it as a lifestyle, it's but that argument is just like a semantics argument.
It just depends on your approach. That's the beauty of skateboarding. You could treat it like a sport, or you could treat it like an art. It's just however you want to do it. You can do it for yourself, or if you want to compete, if you want to score for whatever you do on your board, and that works for you, then skate a contest, and it's kind of infinite.
It's a tricky one, the sport thing. It's like the Olympics sort of style thing that's going on. Yes, it's a sport. If it's a competition, then I guess it's a sport. So if you go to a vert comp or a street comp and you're entering that, not that I would, but those that are good enough to do that, then they're entering into a competition, so therefore, yes, it's a sport.
If it's easier for you to call it a sport to describe it to someone, then whatever, but, some people approach it like a sport, so maybe for some people it is an actual sport, but I never approached it like a sport. I never stretched or, took it like a jock in any way. I just kind of did it as a kid, and you just go out and do stuff, so.
I say skateboarding's an art, because the way you think, everyone kind of uses it in their own way. There's no rules really, it's just whatever you can do while standing on a skateboard, or how you and the skateboard work in tandem. Sure, there's definitely ways you can consider skateboarding a sport. I say in its purest form it is an art form, but if you're doing it in, for say, like a contest setting, that kind of as a sporting event, once you impose the rules of like the biggest trick, the best line, in a very specific period of time, you're adding the sport element onto something that is an art form. It's a way of judging it within the sporting kind of category.
Maybe, maybe sometimes skateboarding is a sport, because at Street League, the way it's laid out and the way they do it and the way it's orchestrated, you can't deny they're playing it as a sport, but you can also play it not as a sport. You can play it as an art or an activity or whatever, but sometimes it's a sport and sometimes it's not. There you go.
I think there's probably two sides to the coin, whether skateboarding causes creativity or creatives sort of go towards skateboarding, because I think that, you know, yeah, I was a skateboarder, but it was actually hip hop that got me into writing. You know, hip hop had a massive influence of getting me into writing, but, you know, maybe the art of being, you know, the kind of being a skateboarder is what's helped push me further with my writing, and it's made me sort of surround myself with creative people from our skateboarding culture. You know, would I have been a writer if I wasn't a skater? Yeah, probably. Would I have taken it so far? Probably not.
But to skate, you've got to be a creative person to start with. You can't be a skater without being that, because I think you're creating stuff every time you skate. It's part of. It's not just a normal thing. You make stuff new. You make it your own. You add your own style to it. And I guess there's a connection with the furniture like that. If I make something, I make it the way I want to do it. And yeah, I suppose that's sort of the same type of creativeness. I guess it gives me freedom. No one can. You're on your own. Although you've got mates around you and they gee you on and you have a laugh and everything else, but when you're actually skating, you are on your own. It's your game. It's your tricks. The outcomes for you. So you learn that you can do things on your own, which is similar to creating furniture and anything else that people create. You design it, you make it. And you get something out of it. That's what it should be, and that's what skating is really. It's you go out, you do a trick, you make it your trick, and that's the reward. It also teaches you the reward of something good. So if you make something good, whether it's a bit of furniture and it's come out really well, or whatever it is, if you've made something, to appreciate how good that is. It's the same as making a trick, really. When you've made it, you're stoked, and everyone else is stoked for you. So, yeah, I suppose there is a connection with that for sure, because it's that same sort of thrill that you've finished something, you've done it, and it's worked. That's quite a rewarding thing.
When I started skating, I was skating by myself, for a year, maybe a bit less than that. And then, when I started skating with other people, it made me fall 10 times over in love with it.
Totally. It's had an impact on my life. Everyone who I know now is through skateboarding, and anywhere you go in the world, anywhere I go in the world, I can meet someone who's a skateboarder, and probably chances are I know someone they know, and it's a beautiful thing.
I think that's probably why I got attracted to it, because I was very lonely and I saw this whole community. And first off, I was obviously got into it because I liked the act of skating, it wasn't just that's the first thing. And then after I started skating, I found this whole other world that was involved in it, and it just made me even more attracted to it,
Skateboarding's impacted me massively as a person, and definitely how I consider art and stuff. In skateboarding, obviously, it's all do-it-yourself, obviously a big DIY culture of build your own parks. Also, just the way skateboarding works is it's all on you to do the tricks. No one else can help you. It's you in this headspace trying to do this thing. And when that comes to art, you can kind of consider it in the same way. So if you want to put on an exhibition, if you want to make a zine, if you want to make a book, how do you lay out those steps to get to the point where that thing is done?
I think skateboarders are some of the most creative people in the world. That they put their mind to it, they can do anything. I think they see potential and whatever lays in front of them. Their world is like an open canvas. Just skateboarding, you can make a spot out of anything, and an instrument or a piece of canvas, I think they could just do whatever they want with it.
I've always pulled things apart and made things, but yeah, being a skater, I suppose, and the furniture thing, it lends itself together in my life. So yeah, it sort of works really. even when I wasn't skating for years, I'd still look at things like a skater. I still dress like a skater. I think that doesn't change. I'll always be a skater. For what, even if I don't roll on a board ever again, I'd always be a skater.
Yeah, so skateboarding, I'd say, taught me how to learn skills. It taught me like how to appreciate the steps you need to take to get to an end goal. It taught me how to understand the creative process and how to figure out how to learn something new, I'd say.